We continue to build our confidence and sense of certainty with today's lesson on parallel structure and errors that go by the name faulty parallelism. To help illustrate the point, why don't you take a shot at diagramming the first two sentences? But these sentences have some problems, so you might run into a little bit of confusion or uncertainty, so don't take too long. After you pause the video and give it a shot, we will review. And here we see a diagram for the first sentence, and you'll see it might look a little funny when you know that parallelism seeks to create a consistent structure within a sentence. Here it's easy to see that hiking and to go fishing, each of which is part of a compound direct object, they don't really match in structure. So let's compare this one to a revised version of the sentence. Here, as we look at the first sentence alongside a revised version of that sentence, we can really see what parallelism means. In the first sentence, the compound direct object consists of hiking and to go fishing. So hiking is a gerund, and to go fishing is an infinitive phrase. So these don't match. If we look down below, we have hiking and fishing. Pete enjoys hiking and fishing. We have a nice clean match. And the second sentence, the revised sentence, is parallel. So the first sentence is an example of faulty parallelism. Let's look at the second sentence you were asked to diagram. Here we've added a third thing that Pete enjoys doing. And the sentence reads, Pete enjoys hiking, swimming, and to go fishing. And you'll see the same example of faulty parallelism here, where you have gerund, and then infinitive phrase, which doesn't quite match. So to revise this, you could imagine what it will look like, and let's take a look. In the revised version, you will see that the compound direct object consists of three items, all with the same structure. Each is a gerund, hiking, swimming, and fishing. And this sentence achieves parallelism. And here you see sentences 1 and 2 corrected for parallelism. And for sentences 3, 4, and 5, your challenge today is twofold. First, you want to determine if there are any problems with parallelism, and if there are, correct them. And for each sentence, diagram the best version of the sentence. So if you need to revise, and then diagram that. If the sentence is good, diagram it as it is. These are a little tougher. I wanted to challenge you here. So take your time, and you can pause now, and then we will discuss. Good luck. Here is sentence 3, correctly revised and correctly diagrammed. We will see that we have a compound verb where the friendly barista is doing 3 things at once. And in fact, the structure is verb, direct object, verb, direct object, verb, direct object. So each of these parts should be parallel. And interestingly, in the dependent clause, as she prepared Mike's latte, we also see a past tense verb direct object. That matches the structure of the top part of the sentence. And here is the sentence with just a little bit of color to help make this a bit clearer. And we see past tense verb direct object 3 times in a row. So this compound verb is parallel. If we wanted to, we can also color prepared red and latte purple to be completely consistent. We have here sentence 4, which is a very difficult sentence to diagram, although happily the sentence was already parallel and didn't need any revisions. So let's look at the diagram. These types of sentences where you have, in this case, an adjective clause, which is quite long, they can be tricky to figure out where the subject and the verb is, because look at how much space comes between power and provides. So that might have been one place where you got a little tripped up. But what kind of power? Modern power, modern nuclear power to be more precise. And then with the adjective clause, and remember adjectives modify nouns, so adjective clauses modify nouns. The adjective clause here is which emits no greenhouse gases, causes no atmospheric pollution and harms no aquatic life. All of that is telling us about a certain type of power. So this adjective clause is a dependent clause. Now back to the independent clause. Modern nuclear power provides source, provides the cleanest and strongest source. What kind of source? Source of 21st century energy. You'll also notice that the compound adjective that is modifying the noun source is also parallel. I would have expected a couple small problems with this diagram, but if you happen to get this perfect, I'm extremely impressed. You should give yourself a great big pat on the back. And here in color, we can see in the dependent clause, we have a compound verb, emits causes and harms. And more precisely, we have a compound verb phrase with each verb taking on a direct object of its own. Interestingly, even the direct objects are modified in the exact same way. No greenhouse gases, no atmospheric pollution, no aquatic life. We can also see in the independent clause, the sentence happens to use the same exact structure, provides source. So that's verb, direct object. And then lastly, we see a compound adjective, cleanest and strongest, which is also parallel. And here's a diagram from sentence 5. This sentence had to be revised a little bit to achieve parallelism. And this is a real sentence from one of my students' analytical essays, analyzing the work of director Sergio Leone. This was in response to a specific question. I think it was something like, how does the director achieve a certain type of mood in this famous scene of his? I think it was the trio scene. Parallelism is often an issue for students who are writing thesis statements or some sort of major controlling idea. In this sentence, you can see that the issue with parallelism happened all the way down here at the bottom in a compound adjective where we have mathematical, psychological, and rhythmical describing the noun elements. I wanted to share this difficult to diagram sentence with you, just to give you a chance to really stretch out and exercise your skills. And just to check the rest of the diagram, we can ask and answer questions. Whose mood? What kind of mood? Leone's pinpoint mood. His mood does what? It results. Results how? From editing. Who's editing? His editing. What kind of editing? Groundbreaking editing. Results how? Particularly. Results how? Above all else. And here we have a color-coded, properly diagrammed sentence with parallelism at the very bottom in the form of a compound adjective, mathematical, psychological, and rhythmical elements. There were a few mistakes I made in the original diagram, and I wonder if you picked up on them. I didn't even notice until I was trying to explain the diagram. And you'll see two changes, a gerund and a participle. So the phrase from editing is an adverbial prepositional phrase, which is modifying the verb results. Prepositional phrases end in nouns or pronouns, and this is a particular type of noun called the gerund. Editing ends in ing. And what kind of editing? It's groundbreaking editing. And this is a particular type of adjective called the participle. So this is properly diagrammed now. It was a tough one. And if you came close or actually got this exact, I give you credit. You have surpassed me if you achieve that. And here we have our lesson on parallel structure. We had a few sentences that needed to be fixed because of their faulty parallelism. Sentence number 4 was okay, but it was quite difficult to diagram. And the reason I like using diagramming to teach parallel structure is because we can visually see the map. We can visually see how the parts relate and lay out next to each other. You can see that sentences are things that are built and the parts need to cohere. When you take a sentence that is faulty in its parallelism, it doesn't quite look right in diagram form. And when you fix it, it looks very nice and coherent. And we will continue